Ohayou gozaimasu. Good morning. Welcome to the Plenary Session 101 on Sustainable Development. I'm Cherry Murray, a professor at Harvard University and former director of the U.S. Department of Energy Office of Science, and I'm honored to be chairing this session. We have a distinguished panel of speakers today, both from government and industry. I'll make a few introductory remarks on where we now stand on meeting some of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and then briefly introduce the panel. Then, after each panelist makes a short presentation, we'll have a roundtable discussion among the panelists. So, sustainable development was defined by the Brundtland Commission in 1987 in the World Commission on Environmental and Development report, Our Common Future, as meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. And this has held over a very long time as a very succinct definition of sustainable development. The report in 1987 highlighted the need to find strategies to promote both economic advancement and social advancement for all in ways that avoid environmental degradation, rather than making a choice between advancement and degradation. The 2015 UN Sustainable Development Goals for 2030 continue in this tradition. And you heard in the previous session that life is becoming more complicated. There are now 17 Sustainable Development Goals. They seek to promote environmental protection and social equity, along with economic prosperity and a high quality of life for all. In this forum, we'll hear from leaders demonstrating not just their commitment to the principles of sustainable development, but real actions their organizations are taking. This is a global transformation. There is a global transformation happening right now in the energy system. We will discuss the impacts of the actions of leaders such as these in business and governments, and also in organizations of people in civil society, which is truly important, including political leaders. How we can demonstrate that striving for the goals of prosperity, social equity, and environmental protection together is also consistent with good business, prosperity, and a better quality of life for people now, as well as for future generations. So now I quote from the September 25th, 2015 resolution of the General Assembly: "Transforming our world, the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. We resolve, between now and 2030, to end poverty and hunger everywhere, to combat inequalities within and among countries, to build peaceful, just, and inclusive societies, to protect human rights and promote gender equality and the empowerment of women and girls, and to ensure the lasting protection of the planet and its natural resources. We resolve also to create conditions for sustainable, inclusive, and sustained economic growth, shared prosperity, and decent work for all, taking into account different levels of national development and capacities. Quite a grand vision. It is deliberately ambitious. As I said before, it has 17 integrated sustainable development goals with targets to guide all nations, because, frankly, even the most wealthy nations have yet to reduce economic inequality, to fully ensure equality for women, or to safeguard the environment for future generations. So I am going to give you some highlights from several different reports. The United Nations Sustainable Development Goals Report 2017, the Secretary General's report to the High-Level Political Forum of the UN Economic and Social Council in May 2017. These are for the upcoming Committee on the Council and the Parties 23rd in Bonn in November. And also a report released for the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation in mid-September entitled Goal Keepers: The Stories Behind the Data. These reports show that even in some goals there has been tremendous, enormous progress since 1990 in the first millennial development goals, but the rate of progress in some areas is far slower than needed to meet the 2030 targets. So here are some highlights. Goal number 1, end poverty in all forms everywhere. The proportion of the world's population living below the international poverty line of US dollars 1.9 per day has decreased from 36% of the global population in 1990 to 9% in 2016. That is a remarkable reduction of 75%. Truly amazing. This has mostly taken place in Asia and Southeast Asia. Yet, there are still 767 million people who live below the poverty line today. These are mostly in Southeast Asia and in sub-Saharan Africa. Goal number 2, end hunger, achieve food security and improve nutrition, and promote sustainable agriculture. The prevalence of stunting, being too small for one's age due to undernourishment in children under 5, has decreased from 36% of these children worldwide in 1990 to 26% in 2016. That's a 28% reduction. Very good, but not good enough. There are still 155 million children who are stunted. There are still 793 million people who routinely confront hunger. Goal number 3, ensure healthy lives and promote well-being for all at all ages. Maternal mortality rates have fallen from 275 per 100,000 live births in 1990 to 179 per 100,000 live births in 2016. That's a reduction by 35%, which is good. And under age 5 mortality has decreased from 85 per 1,000 live births in 1990 to 38 per 1,000 in 2016, a reduction by 55%, but it's not zero. Goal number 4, ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. 9% of primary school-age children worldwide were out of school in 2016, exactly the same number as in 2008. This is a problem. Goal number 5, achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls. Women's participation in national parliaments worldwide reached 23% in 2017, It was very small, in fact, not even counted in 1990. In 67 countries in which there were data in 2015, fewer than a third of senior and middle management positions were held by women. And I would advise you that that is 50% of the population. As we're looking at aging populations and wondering where the workforce is going to come from, there's 50% of it that is underutilized. Goal number 6, ensure availability and sustainable management of water and sanitation for all. The prevalence of the world's population using unsafe or unimproved sanitation fell from a ghastly 60% in 1990 to 33% in 2016. That's a 45% reduction. Still, a third of the world is using unsafe water. Goal number 7, ensure access to affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy for all. 1.06 billion people in 2014 still lived without electricity. Only 57% of people worldwide had access to clean fuels and technologies for cooking. So more than 3 billion people are enduring indoor pollution due to cooking fuels. The share of renewable energy grew only modestly from 2010 to 2014, from 17.5 to 18.3%. So finally, I am not going to go through all 17 of these goals. Finally, skipping to goal 13, take urgent action to combat climate change and its impacts. Although the Paris Agreement entered into force on November 4th, 2016, with 148 parties having ratified it, the U.S., which is the world's second largest greenhouse gas emitter, has indicated it will withdraw from the agreement by 2020. So 40% of the GDP in 17 states have agreed they are in the agreement and will be in Bonn reporting on their results. As reported in the World Economic Forum Global Risk Report in 2017, where they were looking at 10 major likely and impactful risks, fully 5 of the 10 are directly related to environment and climate change. We have a great deal to do. In order to continue to make progress in these goals, we need governments and corporations and citizens to take a leadership role, championing the use of science and technology for society, hence this forum. This morning, we will hear from some of these global leaders. I first want to introduce Minister of Economy, Trade, and Industry of Japan, Mr. Hiroshige Seiko.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Hiroshige Seiko. I am a Minister of Economy, Trade and Industry of Japan. And thank you so much. It is my pleasure to join you all at the STS Forum, even more so this time, as this is my second year in a row to be with you. I really want to commend Chairman Omi for his visionary leadership, without which the forum could not have come this far. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the Japanese government, and my ministry in particular, is now promoting a new vision. It's a vision through which we will usher in a new era in which innovations help generate growth, solve challenges in our society, and make our environment more robust and sustainable. I know that we have no magic wand. I also know that we all long for the solutions for coming to grips with those challenges. Yet, almost uniquely to Japan, it is not only urgent, but also entirely possible to foster the innovations that will tackle those challenges. It is urgent as the society is growing and labor productivity as a result has slowed. It is possible because on Japanese factory shop floors, you have a vast amount of technologies, experiences, know-how, and most importantly, all kinds of data, all highly valuable, but tightly stored in their own silos. Their data are almost like a huge reservoir waiting to be tapped into. So, on one hand, you have problems awaiting solutions. And on the other hand, you have knowledge and data awaiting release. Then the question is, how you can connect the two? The answer actually lies within the question itself. Because connected, you can do much more. Now we choose to call our vision CI, or Connected Industries. I'm its proud godfather, by the way. You may then say that between Toyota and its parts supplier, for example, there are tight connections. The two are already connected. So what is the point? By CI, Connected Industries, we mean to connect the hitherto unconnectable, human and machines, machines in Tokyo and those in Indonesia, company-specific data to achieve greater economy of scale, which in turn will generate new businesses, taking advantage of that big data. AI, IoT, sensing, and robotics, among other technologies, will hold the key. To make the best of them, you must change your old habit of thinking of your competitors only as your enemies. Competitive collaborations or collaborative competition, whichever you call it, COCO will be the buzzword of our time. I'm determined, ladies and gentlemen, to do my best to promote the CI vision. I will say every day that we will get richer and stronger only when connected. If we send out that message day in and day out, Japanese business leaders might become more willing to do away with their silos. The government must also help businesses to build an environment where companies can cooperate more, collaborate more, and share knowledge with each other by changing regulatory frameworks. We can also help advance data-related businesses by again modifying our regulations to meet emerging demands. The good news here is that Japanese corporations are still earning record profits. I must urge their leaders to come out of their trenches to embrace our new vision, CI, Connected Industries, and turn it into reality now. Thank you for your kind attention. Thank you very much.
I now would like to introduce Deputy Chairman of the Board of Huawei Technologies Company, Mr. Ping Guo.
Thank you, Dr. Murray. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I'm happy to join you again. Kyoto is a very old city. It's a perfect place for us to explore the role of the technology in sustainable development. In 2015, over 190 countries passed the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. It's clear to us that ICT is a key enabler for all of these goals. This is especially true in domains like good health and well-being, quality education, industry innovation and infrastructure, and sustainable cities and communities. But how can ICT help? Today, I'd like to share an example of how traditional companies use digital technology to create a sustainable advantage. These companies use ICT to connect their elevators. Like Hitachi and Toshiba in Japan, European companies Schindler and Cohen are well-known global brands. They manage about 1 million elevators around the world. These two companies want to speed up their digital transformation process. They are working with Huawei on innovative solutions like edge computing IoT gateways. With these solutions, we want to link up elevators with applications and use intelligent systems to improve efficiency and design. The end goal is to remain competitive in the digital era. Throughout this process, we have three major takeaways. First, preventive maintenance helps improve reliability and efficiency. Elevator operators have two major concerns: ensuring safety and reducing OPEX. However, traditional forms of maintenance, whether collective or planned, are expensive and are not a guarantee of customer satisfaction. In the face of these challenges, preventive maintenance has emerged as a solution, which uses ICT to make elevators and their key components visible in real time. This ensures safe operations of elevators and reduced costs. With this solution, Schindler hopes to reduce maintenance costs by 50% and shorten an average elevator recovery time by over 50%. Our second takeaway is big data can help improve elevator design and make them more competitive. There are several hundred sensors in a single elevator. They all produce a massive amount of data. However, in the past, this data wasn't used effectively. Today, Schindler uses Huawei's IoT gateways to manage all kinds of complex interfaces and protocols. This enables them to record the status of sensors and controllers in real time during critical moments. Schindler's R&D team uses this data to optimize product design. With big data, they can identify possible safety defects and gaps in efficiency. They can optimize components, improve product quality, and make their elevators and services more competitive. Third, for connected elevators to succeed, wider cooperation is necessary. The core innovations that powered this solution are our edge computing IoT gateways, our Agile controller, and GE's industry IoT platform, Predix. However, we also need to collaborate with many other partners, including suppliers of sensor controllers and industry applications. Greater cooperation is necessary to build out information channels for industry networks and connect different platforms. Simply put, collaboration across the ecosystem is key to a sustainable future. Besides GE, Huawei is also working with other partners like Honeywell, ABB, and Schneider on preventive maintenance solutions. We have deployed large-scale applications for different scenarios, including vehicles, power grids, and buildings. Here in Japan, we want to use ICT to work together with local companies to go digital. We believe this will help protect Japan's leading position in industry domains and help the country achieve sustainable development. Innovation takes collaboration. Huawei looks forward to work more closely with all of you. Thank you.
Our third speaker is Chairman of the Board of Toyota Motor Corporation, Mr. Takeshi Uchiyamada.
Good morning. My name is Takeshi Uchiyamada, Chairman of Toyota Motor Corporation. Today, as an example of sustainable development, I'd like to show you the activities towards a hydrogen-based society. Recently, there is great expectation placed on hydrogen, both as an energy source for a sustainable society and also as an energy carrier. We have been involved in the ongoing discussion as to whether there is even a need for a hydrogen-based society and whether it will truly make the world a better place. And the answer is yes. Today, I'd like to talk to you about the 4 major reasons why a hydrogen society is so important to us. First, hydrogen produces zero CO2 in the process of reacting with oxygen. Second, it can be produced from a variety of primary energy sources. This means hydrogen has an advantage in terms of energy security. Currently, hydrogen can be made from fossil fuels such as natural gas, or it can also be sourced from steel or sodium hydroxide production operations, which produce it as a byproduct. Additionally, hydrogen can also be made from sewage, sludge, or lignite, which currently have low usage value. Of course, hydrogen can also be produced from water using power derived from renewable energy sources such as wind or solar energy. In this way, we can avoid CO2 emission even during the process of producing hydrogen. Third, hydrogen is an energy source that is well suited to being both produced and consumed locally. Fourth, building communities that link the hydrogen supply chain to the power grid will bring us close to achieving a true low-carbon society. Renewable energy is finally taking off. However, renewable energy sources have inconsistent output. By converting excess renewable energy into hydrogen, we can store the produced energy and use it efficiently later. In Japan, under the leadership of the Abe administration, various programs related to achieving a hydrogen-based society have been underway. The Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry has established the Council for Strategy for Hydrogen and Fuel Cells, comprised of various industry, academia, and government experts. The Council announced its strategic roadmap for hydrogen and fuel cells in 2014, which was revised in March of last year with new goals added. As for the Toyota Group, we have been carrying out various initiatives. In 2014, we released the Mirai, the world's first mass-market hydrogen-powered vehicle, and recently, more than 4,000 Mirai have been sold. Together with Hino Motors, we have developed a fuel cell bus, and from March of this year, we started its operation as a Tokyo bus. There are plans to introduce over 100 fuel cell buses ahead of the Tokyo 2020 Olympic and Paralympic Games. Toyota Industry Corporation is developing fuel cell forklift. Last November, their commercial fuel cell forklift was introduced for the first time in Japan at Kansai International Airport. Also, in January of this year, 2 additional fuel cell forklifts were introduced at Toyota Motor Corporation. Going forward, there are plans to introduce 170 to 180 fuel cell forklifts by 2020 in order to reduce the CO2 emissions from our production plants. And in May of this year, 11 companies, including automobile makers and infrastructure companies, signed a memorandum of understanding on collaboration towards the large-scale construction of hydrogen stations. We aim to accelerate the construction of hydrogen stations in the current early stage of FCV commercialization using an all-Japan approach. There are also various programs in place outside of Japan. This past January, the Hydrogen Council was established in Davos, Switzerland. It is aimed at allowing companies to work together to achieve a hydrogen society. The Council has first established with 13 leading energy, transport, and industry companies, and it is increased to 27 companies. We at Toyota, as a member of the Council, will contribute our effort towards achieving this goal. Furthermore, with activities underway in Japan, Europe, and the US, Toyota has expanded activities toward achieving a hydrogen society to other countries, such as the UAE, China, Canada, and Australia. using the Mirai for verification testing purposes in various locations in one such activities. Plans written on the paper that we have been discussing for years are now finally becoming a reality. It is clear that effort towards the realization of a sustainable society where hydrogen plays a key part will expand further going forward. Toyota intends to stand on the front lines and lead the way in achieving a hydrogen society. Thank you very much.
And our fourth speaker in this session will be President and CEO of UL, LLC, in the U.S., Mr. Keith Williams.
Chairman Nomi, Chairman Murray, distinguished panelists, and ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It's a real pleasure for me and for my colleagues at UL to be back here in Kyoto at the STS Forum. We've been coming for several years, and so maybe all of you know us. UL is a company in America that applies science to standards, to safety, to testing, and certification. You could, in fact, say that we exist directly at the interface of science and technology with society. And so this morning I'm going to talk to you a little bit about some of the work that we're doing and ask for your help. Maybe, in fact, I can raise some ideas in your mind and encourage some work on your part when you go home that can help us to deal with these questions that we're dealing with at the interface of science and technology into society. The first area I'd like to speak about is chemical safety. At UL, we have a business that we call indoor air quality, and essentially what we do is we test products. It could be furniture, it could be carpet, it could be machinery, but we test products for emission of volatile organic compounds and semi-volatile organic compounds. And we certify products that are low emission. Now, why do we do that? Well, we found through our work that in the average American home, you'll find in the air about 500 VOC or SVOC compounds, all of which came into the house through products that we purchased. About a quarter of those compounds are either known or suspected to be carcinogens or neurotoxins. And a recent study showed in maternity cases, about 200 to 300 industrial chemicals on average can be found in the cord blood of babies who are being delivered in America. That for us is a concern. And what we need as a first step from you is help to understand out of these 500 different SVOCs and VOCs, which of them actually has an important medical or human health issue for which we should be concerned, for which we should be testing, and for which we should be helping people to take out of their products. Now, on our own part, we are doing some research and have been making some progress. In China, we're working in collaboration with Tsinghua University, with Shanghai General Hospital, and with Duke University from America to look at two things. First, how do we assess new techniques to identify specific pollution exposures related to childhood asthma? As we know, that's a growing health issue in the world. And secondly, how do we evaluate building air cleaning technologies that can make our indoor air more safe and more clean, especially looking at things like PM 2.5. Secondly, for the last several years, my colleagues have been leading a consensus and a dialogue around how to make furniture that is fire safe, chemical safe, affordable, and practical. Now that, as you can imagine, when that conversation first began, it was a fairly tense discussion because everyone at the party questioned the motives of everybody else. The fire community thought that everyone else at the table had little regard for fire safety. The human health experts thought everyone at the table had no regard for human health. The furniture people thought, you're trying to put us out of business. But in fact, we believe it is not only possible, but practical, to develop furniture that is fire safe, that is chemically safe, that is affordable, that is practical, and that is usable. And in fact, this year, we are now, for the first time, evaluating the VOC exposure and fire performance of some prototype furniture that is being made with flame retardants that are the result of green chemistry. We'll have the results of that and discuss that at the next annual meeting of this consortium, which will happen this December in Atlanta. And you know, it's easy to solve two of those problems if you don't care about three. If you don't care about your furniture being comfortable, we can give you a concrete sofa that will be fire safe and chemically safe. If you don't care about chemical safety, we can give you a sofa that's filled with flame retardants and is very comfortable and affordable. But solving all three of those together is the challenge. And there we need your help to find solutions that are based in science and based in technology that can help us to address the issue of how to make furniture for the world that is fire safe, chemical safe, affordable, and usable. And that will help, we believe, to make a significant down payment on reducing the 500 VOC and SVOC compounds that we're finding in our homes and in our offices, in our schools, and in our hospitals. The second area where we could use your help is in regard to smart cities and smart buildings. It's really one of the most common topics that I hear about at every meeting that I go to. And in fact, UL is one of the sponsors of the Chicago Forum on Global Cities, and every year, smart cities and smart buildings is a major topic of conversation. There's one thing missing. There's really no way for all the thousands of devices that are in a building to communicate with each other. And there's no way for all the thousands of buildings that are in a city like Tokyo to communicate with each other either. What we need, and where we need your help, is to develop standards by which devices and buildings and cities can communicate with each other. Because although all the devices in the newest skyscraper may be smart, and all of them may be net connected, and all of them may have artificial intelligence, if they're unable to communicate and collaborate with each other and with the city, is it really a smart building, or is it really a smart city? The other area where we can use your help is to continue to develop more sophisticated ways of sensing and monitoring that can go into making the buildings and the city smarter. One of the most interesting, impressive pieces of work I've seen recently is from the Sensible City Lab at MIT with Dr. Erin Baumgartner. She and her team are developing sensors that can go into the sewage systems of the cities and can monitor and be an early warning for human health issues. For example, an early warning for a serious communicable disease, or an early warning for a change in illegal narcotics. For example, as you know, in America, we have a serious issue with opioids and with fentanyl. If we can monitor the sewage in real time, we can, in fact, in a smart city, pick up changes in things that are being distributed in our city that can help public health service to be proactive rather than reactive. It's an opportunity where, again, we can use your help. One other area that I'll mention would be in regard to zero waste to landfill. That's a very important part of sustainability, and for a society to be sustainable, in fact, landfills are likely will have to disappear. One of the things that UL does is we have a certification program for zero waste to landfill. And you may have seen a recent announcement by Apple that all 14 of their China final assembly sites are now certified by us to be zero waste to landfill compliant. It's an application of standards and science to a human society issue. And there's going to be a continuous growing challenge. We've talked about today about electrification of vehicles. In America, we have 250 million cars on the road. If every one of those cars was a fully electric vehicle, that would be something like 100 billion kilograms of batteries driving around on our roads. It's a very interesting industrial and science challenge to figure out practical ways for reuse, recycling of those batteries and the materials. And again, that's a place where we can use your help. Finally, I'd like to close with one last thing that UL is working on, and that is we're working with the Carbon Disclosure Project, and we're developing for them a new reporting and data aggregation platform. As we know, if we're going to really seriously attack carbon, it is necessary to have a clear visibility and reporting of carbon use across the world. The Carbon Reporting Project, or Disclosure Project today, has about 6,000 company members and about 500 municipalities producing data. As Minister Seiko said just a few minutes ago, big data is an important part of the future, important part of Society 5.0 in Japan, where we can use your help on carbon reporting and through the work that we're doing through Carbon Disclosure Project is to help us understand how to use analytics and take the information out of big data that can help that system to make the world a more sustainable place. There's a long list of things that can be done. Dr. Murray went through the 17 different things that are on the UN list for sustainability. I'm happy to say that we touch at least 16 of them in our work, and we would be delighted to understand from you how you can help us to address issues like chemical safety, like smart cities, smart buildings, zero waste to landfill, and carbon disclosure. Thank you very much. Dr. Murray?
So we have about 10 minutes for a roundtable. And as I was listening to all of the presentations today, I heard some very common elements. First of all, we're all working on providing an interface of science and technology into society. I heard that most of what we're working on are system solutions. We need to solve several different goals at once. For the Sustainable Development Goals, there are 17 of them. I heard a lot about open innovation, collaborative competition, connected industries, connecting traditional technology companies to the fourth industrial revolution and Society 5.0. One of the things that has come up repeatedly is how do you do innovation in large companies? And how do you build and bring a startup ecosystem and an innovative ecosystem to all nations of the world? And what about industrial university collaboration? So with that beginning, I'd like to ask each of our speakers in turn to talk about what are you doing, for example, Minister Seiko, what are connected industries doing for society?
Okay, Japan faces many challenges such as population decrease and aging society with fewer children. And ahead of the rest of the world, we will enable the creation of solutions and services and reform the society system to address these issues through connecting various industries based on the idea of connected industries. I think this approach could change these weaknesses into strengths, thus creating a solution. For example, we can consider increased quality of life for people with limited mobility, such as senior citizens, through making use of self-driving technology on local public transportation services and collaborating with logistics services. Providing healthcare services which are personalized by using individual health and medical data. Transformation of industry structure which does not depend on oil by making use of possible biological functions derived from a combination of biotechnology and AI and IT. Connected industries will lead to Society 5.0, a human-centered, super smart society where people can live lives of high quality, comfort, and vigor while highly integrating cyber and physical spaces. Thank you.
So Chairman Guo, we just heard about your remarkable connection of the elevator industry, a very traditional industry, with IT, and thus transforming their efficiency. Other industries similar to the elevator industry also are quite interested, but have not yet been able to incorporate IT. And how is Huawei working with these industries?
Thank you, Dr. Marie. Just now, Prime Minister Abe mentioned that that's the open innovation. So Huawei is the ICT technology company, and the ICT technology is the key business innovator for those traditional industry go digital. So my point is that try to set priority for those traditional industry, set a priority, identify the pain point. Just for example, for society and for company, I just take two examples. For society, just sustainable goals, we have 17, right? And just take Kenya for example. They identify two of them. One is the how those poor people can use the advanced technology. So in Kenya, most of the people are not affordable to buy smartphone. They use the traditional feature phone. But most of the people, they work far away from their home. So we work with the local partner, Safaricom, developed a mobile money solution, help those people work far away from the home, send their money home. So today, about 38% of the GDP runs on Huawei and the Safaricom mobile money solution. So identify the pain point. And for a company, it's the same, just mentioned the Schindler's case. Thank you.
Very impressive. So, Chairman Uchiyamada, how is Toyota Motors Corporation working with universities?
For the especially for the talking about the fuel cell society, fuel cell vehicle, that situation is quite different compared with the 20th centuries. In 20th centuries, every automobile maker compete each other and develop a new vehicle and provide it to the customer. But as I mentioned, as an example of fuel cell vehicle, we need a big change about infrastructure for the vehicle. It's a quite different situation compared with 20th century. And very big important point is the governmental policy for the energy. And second point is collaboration with energy companies. We automobile makers cannot do it just alone. It's the same situation with the how we are achieving the society 5.0. It's 21st century needs the collaboration between the stakeholders, government, academia, and also the companies.
So, Keith, President Williams.
Keith is better.
Yes. What I heard was that you were asking for help. How does UL go about collaborating and getting the input from the community that is so important in your business?
Well, fortunately, our business has always been built on collaboration. And so for decades, we've had a series of councils that meet every year that are outside collaborators from all kinds of places, from industry, from academia, from government, to talk about public health and safety issues, whether it's, we have a fire council, an electrical council, many of those. So that's one way. The second way is that we collaborate directly with universities on projects of interest. So I mentioned the project with Duke University and Tsinghua and Shanghai General Hospital. There would be many other programs like that in UL where we have an ongoing collaboration with universities who have common interest. And in fact, that's, I think, probably the most important way to make progress. We also do provide some funding for universities in a variety of ways. For example, we funded Case Western Reserve University in Cleveland to begin a fire protection engineering program, which led to another collaboration, and perhaps they're going to be part of the solution to fire-safe furniture, coincidentally, as opposed to by plan. So many different ways, and I think that's the nature of the 21st century success. It was talked about with collaboration and connectivity. I think the 21st century, and especially the young workforce today, and 90% of our employees are either Gen X or millennials, so their natural way of working is collaboration and communication. And so I think that will also be a big help.
Very good. We have exactly 2 minutes left. So the thing that I something that struck me listening to all of your presentations was this concept of connected industries, collaboration, open innovation, but collaborative competition. I thought that was a very good way of putting it, that business is still there to make a profit and to provide for economic development. But if we can think about how we could do that in a sustainable way, we will all both profit, and so will our grandchildren. So I thank you all very much for this session. Wonderful presentations, and hope to hear from you again soon.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's lunchtime now. Please move to the lounge Sakura and enjoy your buffet lunch. And please do not forget that the concurrent sessions will begin at 1:40 p.m. Thank you.